What is up? It's Scott Tejerian from the Weekly Transit Astrology Podcast here with our sports and astrology segment, Samantha Dottin, where we are talking about Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe, Hall of Fame football player, tight end, won multiple Super Bowls, one with the Ravens, one with a couple with the Broncos, at least one with the Broncos, maybe two. Yeah, but he's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest that ever laced him up. He's also great on TV, great with commentary and giving his perspective, his point of view. Spent several years on Undisputed with Skip Bayless, recently parted ways with Skip, and united with Skip's ex, Stephen A. Smith, on First Take, the show that Skip used to do with Stephen A. So it's getting very kind of incestuous here. Exciting to see what the astrology is. If you're interested in learning about your astrological code, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. If this video is helping you learn the language of astrology, like this video, subscribe to the channel. So let's dive in, Samantha. We don't know Shannon's birth time, so Shannon, contact us, give us your birth time. Let's dig in deep with you. We love you. We love you, Shannon. Been watching you for years as a player, as a commentator. Cancer, Cancer Sun, Cancer Mars, Venus, Moon. Let's go back to 12 a.m. here. 12 a.m. June 26, 1968. So he was born just a few months after Stephen A. They're really close in age. Stephen A. was born October of 67. Shannon was born June of 68. So here is where the moon was, 7 degrees in Cancer. By the time we got to the next day, the moon was at 19 degrees. So the moon was definitely in Cancer when Shannon was born. He was born in that new moon phase. So a very purpose-driven life. When the moon is new, it's a new cycle. And Shannon Sharpe, very purpose-driven life. I mean, my God, his brother was a football player, great football player, Sterling Sharpe. His career was cut short by injury, and it's very moving to see Shannon Sharpe in his Hall of Fame acceptance speech say that, like, this is for us, like for his brother too, because there's no question that if Sterling Sharpe didn't have his career-ending injury, he would have been a Hall of Famer, because he was one of the all-time great wide receivers for the Green Bay Packers. Incredible receiver. So, but Shannon didn't go to like a big Power 5 school. He went to Savannah State. So like they're not a football power, but he went from Savannah State to being a Hall of Fame football player. Like, okay, like
yeah. And I don't know his story like extensive, but came from like nothing.
Yeah,
like nothing,
totally.
nothing.
No, I think I've heard him talk about how like they had like dirt floors or something in the house, or so, you know, maybe I'm talking out of turn here, but I remember I've heard him talk about his upbringing, and just, yeah, it was
rough.
They didn't have a lot. Didn't have a lot. So he's come so far in so many, not just as an athlete to the top of the pinnacle, you know, Hall of Fame, one of the greatest that ever laced him up, to phenomenal in front of the camera, articulating his point of view, being a great orator, communicator. Love watching him. He's a wonderful, amazing commentator. So we talked about Mars with Stephen A. being in alignment with the sun. And that's what makes him courageous, you know, because Mars is the planet of courage, confidence, authenticity. For Stephen A., Mars is in Sagittarius, forming a sextile with his sun in Libra. Mars is at 23 degrees in Sag, his sun at 20 degrees in Libra. So it takes a lot of courage to go in front of the camera and talk about professional athletes. Takes probably more courage to put on shoulder pads and a helmet and run out on a field and hit people and get hit by people. And when Shannon Sharpe was born, Mars was at 3 degrees in Cancer. The sun was at 4 degrees in Cancer. So super courageous, very confident, very authentic, super extreme athlete, also conjunct with Venus. Venus is the planet of the senses. The moon was maybe this close, maybe a little further away. A lot of energy here. A lot of energy with his sense of vitality, his sense of courage, his senses, his emotions. Cancer is a very emotional sign. It's a sign that's ruled by the moon. So the moon is in a position of power here because it's in the sign that it rules, Cancer. So Shannon Sharpe is very sensitive, very kind, very caring, very nurturing, but also very moody as well. Mercury also in a position of power because it's in the sign that it rules, Gemini. So this is why he's smart. This is why he's a great communicator. And Mercury at 23 degrees in Gemini is forming a sextile to Saturn at 24 degrees in Aries, which means this is why he's able to communicate from a place of authority. Words, I know what I'm talking about because I lived it, because I played in the NFL for how many years, Shannon, did we play in the NFL for? Let's see. He played in the NFL for 14 seasons. 14 seasons. He's a Hall of Famer. So he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's also squaring his Pluto, 20 degrees. So, and his Uranus at 25 degrees. So that can create some tension with his communication. And it's also why Shannon Sharpe can get loud. Start screaming at people. When Skip Bayless starts screaming at him, he screams back.
Yeah.
And he hasn't, I don't think he screamed at Stephen A yet. Stephen A has been very respectful, but there will come a time where the honeymoon will wane. And Shannon Sharpe will start screaming at Stephen A when Stephen A is screaming at Shannon Sharpe. So, that's intense. Pluto, Uranus, unexpected, death, squaring the mind, creating that intensity.
Yeah. Is there something in either of their charts that jumped out to you in terms of the alpha, because there can only be one alpha, right?
Yeah.
When we're talking about dudes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
well, let's look.
Curious
Let's take a look in the next video. Let's look at Skip and Shannon and see where their dynamics come through. How's that feel?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Right. Like and subscribe this video if it was helpful to you in learning the language of astrology. We'll see you back in the next video where we're talking about Shannon Sharpe and his astrological relationship with Skip Bayless.